The Michael Jackson biopic opened to a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. 27. For context, that puts it below the 2004 Catwoman movie or Giggly, below films that people use as punchlines at film school. And then the general public went to see it. The audience score climbed to 97%, making it the highest rated musical biopic on the site. Same film 56 days apart with two completely different verdicts. Something happened here, and it's worth actually pulling apart. Critics pointed consistently to a lack of depth in the storytelling, a film that couldn't capture the complexity of Jackson's legacy. One reviewer called it a watered-down compilation of Michael Jackson's greatest hits that is devoid of any real substance. The specific charge that kept surfacing was the film's relationship with Jackson's legal history. Critics aimed at the film for portraying Jackson as an almost saintly figure, completely glossing over his legal issues. The Leaving Neverland director came out publicly against it. Paris Jackson slammed it for being filled with what she called full-blown lies. That's the subject's own daughter, not a small footnote. Critics wanted excavation. What they got was a greatest hits album with no liner notes. The critics aren't wrong, and neither are the audiences. They just watched completely different films. Music biopics live or die on whether audiences feel the performer at the center, and that's especially true with a figure as huge and contested as Michael Jackson. Critics walked in wanting a document. Audiences walked in wanting an experience. Antoine Fuqua made an experience, and the critics graded it as a document. That mismatch explains almost the entire gap. Jafar Jackson's performance became the thing audiences couldn't stop talking about. The voice, the mannerisms, the dancing, described repeatedly as the first time someone played Michael that didn't come across as imitation. Coleman Domingo as Joe Jackson drew comparisons to an Oscar-worthy turn. Intense, complex, convincing in a way that grounded the whole family story. Audience reviews kept using the same word, concert. People felt like they'd attended something, not watched something. One review read simply, "This is the closest I will get to a concert." The film opened with the biggest debut ever for a musical biopic, besting Straight Outta Compton, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Elvis. Globally, it crossed $217 million in its opening weekend. The people who critics thought they were protecting from a bad film went anyway in record numbers and left satisfied. But here's what doesn't go away just because audiences loved it. The film was produced by the Jackson estate, the same estate that controls what can and can't be said about Michael Jackson publicly. Not a conspiracy, just a structural fact that shaped every creative decision in the script. When a subject's own family controls the production, you're not getting a biography. You're getting an authorized portrait, and those two things are not the same. The Leaving Neverland director's criticism wasn't that the film was badly made. It was that the film treated omission as neutrality. Leaving out the allegations isn't a neutral creative choice when you're claiming to tell someone's full story. It's a position. The film just never admits it's taking one. TJ Jackson posted, "Don't ever listen to professional critics when it comes to my family. Ever." And fans echoed it. The media has always been against Michael, the argument goes, and this is just more of the same. That framing isn't entirely wrong historically. Jackson was treated brutally by press coverage for decades, but conflating that with critical analysis of a feature film lets the estate off the hook for choices that deserve scrutiny. Loving Michael Jackson and wanting a more honest film about him aren't opposing positions. The fans treating them that way handed the estate exactly the cover it needed. The score gap isn't a mystery. Critics and audiences wanted fundamentally different things, and the film chose a side without admitting it had to. What's left is a biopic that broke box office records, broke a Rotten Tomatoes audience record, and will almost certainly never be the definitive account of one of the most complicated figures in pop history. The people who needed it to be a concert got their concert. Everyone else is still waiting for the film that actually reckons with the man.